Thank you, Mr. President. Director General of UN Office of Geneva, distinguished President, Excellencies, colleagues, and friends. It is an honor to be called to this mandate, to assist states to uphold the human rights of the people. In this year in which we celebrate the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Universal Declaration is a commitment to values and policies that deliver tremendous benefit to millions of people. This Council, my office, and every member state of the United Nations must continue to push forward with that work. The future of the world depends upon it. I want to acknowledge the courage and the achievements of my predecessor, High Commissioner Zaid. His activism, humanity, and formidable intelligence have advanced the cause of human rights and brought great access and impact to our office. He truly became the spokesman for those who are voiceless, the victims of human rights violations. Their needs and rights should always be the central focus of our work. Human rights express the core purpose of the United Nations. We can only attain peace, security, and sustainable development of all societies when we advance the dignity and equality of all human beings. In the course of my work, I fully intend to honor both the spirit and the practice established by my predecessors. I bring to this mandate my experience in public service and my lifelong dedication to reversing hatred and ensuring equality and respect for all. I have been a political detainee and the daughter of political detainees. I have been a refugee and a physician, including for children who experience torture and the enforced disappearance of their parents. I have headed a United Nations body, and I have been honored to lead my country twice as its president. This is the eve of the day on which we Chileans mark the memory of the coup d'etat 45 years ago, and the ensuing years of brutal oppression and bloodshed. My country has known the pain and terror of tyranny, but I'm proud to say we have been able to surmount divisions and meet vast challenges, shaping institutions which enable greater participation and greater freedom, justice and dignity for our people. And so I bring to the cause of human rights the diversity of cultures that have nourished my approach to public service. I bring my commitment to bridging the differences between communities and promoting respect, well-being and freedom. I bring my fundamental attachment to the courage, the dignity and selflessness of all defenders of and activists of human rights. I bring my absolute conviction that cooperation between all actors through multilateral institutions can solve the complex challenges that face the world, and that by working to uphold human rights, my office, like this Council, can ensure more just and respectful societies, living together in sustainable development and security. Good governance is based on identifying and amending gaps in access to justice, dignity and equality, so that all can live in more respectful and harmonious societies and enjoy development that is more dynamic. Is based on building resilience, strengthening healing processes, and intervening to interrupt symptoms of pathology. And human rights are a powerful medicine which heals wounds and develops resilience. Excellencies, political differences may divide some of the countries in this room, but upholding human rights is in the interest of every state. Your peoples seek a common agenda: rights, sustainable development, and peace. We can only progress towards that vision together. If we undermine multilateral institutions such as this one, we will fail to meet the challenges our people face. I have deeply admired much of the work done by this Council. With its mechanisms and experts, the Universal Periodic Review ensures groundbreaking scrutiny of the human rights record of every state in the world. The inquiries led by the Council's fact-finding expert missions and special procedures have uncovered essential facts which must be addressed and have pointed to recommendations that is essential to apply. Your expanding agenda and increased workload are not only a testament to the world's failures to uphold human rights, they are also a mark of your importance. I'm convinced that this Council must strive for consensus. I believe there should be more engagement by all member states, not sterile dispute, not withdrawals, but collective, coordinated and cooperative work to sustain core principles and common goals. Kofi Annan, for whom I had the deepest respect, often pointed out that in our complex, globalized world, no country, no matter how powerful or wealthy, can hope to solve the issues which face states, and I quote, "Governments have to show the courage and vision to look beyond themselves to find solutions and put in place new frameworks and rules," end of quote. The most effective solutions are grounded in principle and in openness, in collective agreements and coordinated actions. And I know that consensus is possible. I know that military leaders can commit to ending military intervention in democratic politics and work to reconcile with the victims of oppression. I know that centuries of prejudice and discrimination against women, against the people of the Global South, and many other discriminated and exploited groups can be pushed back. This is work that has advanced in the past and must move forward today. Excellencies, it is states which have the primary responsibility for upholding the rights of their people. I will always listen to the concerns of government. As a former head of government and head of state, I have shared some of these concerns and faced some of the same challenges. But above all, I will advocate for the civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights that are the inherent entitlements of all people. I will strive to be the voice and the strong defender in complete objectivity, without fear or favor, and to urge all states to protect and promote all human rights without distinction. This Council too has the responsibility to speak out against every instance of human rights violation, regardless of sex, gender identity, race or ethnicity, religion, disability or migration status or other characteristic. Irrespective of the type of political regime in a given country, the Human Rights Council has the transformative improvements in upholding all rights. And these rights extend from the frontiers of the digital universe to the abject poverty of the rooms where mothers die in childbirth because insufficient resources are allocated for their care. They include the prevention of conflicts, so often grounded in discrimination, inequality, and injustice. They include protection from and mitigation of the effects of climate change, work to uphold the rights of children, rights to health and to fundamental services, and measures which enable development by upholding the people's right to freely participate in making decisions on all matters that affect them. We cannot pick and choose from among our people's inalienable rights. They build on each other. Measures to promote equality drive powerful, sustainable economic development to which every member of society can fully contribute. Access to the best quality education and to economic and social rights helped to diminish despair, mistrust, and violent extremism. It is by building access to all human rights that society becomes stronger and more able to resist unpredictable shocks. And although there may be legitimate divergency regarding the best ways of achieving these transformations, the principles which anchor them remain absolutely clear and unbearable. Mr. President, we stand on a firm foundation. Much work has already been accomplished, be it by my office, including by its 72 field presences around the world, by this Council and its mechanism, by the treaty body committees, and by the civil society activists represented in this room and those across the world. I hope to reinforce our common understanding. We can surpass national borders. We can promote more multilateralism, more cooperation, more dialogue, more consensus, and more coordinated action. We can build new strategies and stronger tools for prevention, early intervention, and also accountability. I firmly believe that the power of justice can deter and prevent even the worst violations and crime. We must push forward with the implementation of states' commitments. Norms and laws are vital, but they must be applied. I am convinced that by building up national institutions, we can ensure powerful constituencies for rights, which can contribute to making rights real. Mr. President, the country updates prepared by my office over the course of the past 3 months point to progress in some areas and many challenging situations. The official version of this speech on the office website includes issues related to migration, other concerns in Venezuela, Nicaragua, Hungary, the United States, and the countries of the European Union, with some recent concerns in Austria, Italy, and Germany. Further updates outline the situation in Myanmar, Bangladesh, Cambodia, India, the region of Kashmir on both sides of the line of control, Afghanistan, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, China, Sri Lanka, Syria, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Bahrain, Iran, Egypt, the occupied Palestinian territory, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Mali, Cameroon, Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia, the Central African Republic, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, the Russian Federation, Turkey, Ukraine, Colombia, Mexico, Guatemala, and Haiti. I must emphasize the imperative of justice for Myanmar. I welcome the pre-trial chamber of the International Criminal Court's finding that the court has jurisdiction over the alleged deportation of Rohingya from Myanmar and possibly other crimes. This is an immensely important step towards ending impunity and addressing the enormous suffering of the Rohingya people. I also welcome efforts by Member States at this Council to establish an independent international mechanism for Myanmar to collect, consolidate, preserve, and analyze evidence of the most serious international crimes in order to expedite fair and independent trials in national and international courts. This mechanism will also complement and support the preliminary examination of the ICC prosecutor. I urge the Council to pass a resolution and refer the matter to the General Assembly for its endorsement so that such a mechanism can be established. I am deeply concerned about the impending crisis for Idlib in Syria. The suffering of the people of Syria has been interminable and terrible. I urge all nations to take all necessary action to urgently ensure their protection, as well as justice for the massive human rights violations that they have endured. In Egypt, I'm shocked by Saturday's death sentence for 75 people, following another mass trial which failed to comply with international standards regarding due process guarantees. The trial of these protesters contrasts sharply with a recent law that bestows immunity on senior members of the security forces for human rights violations which they may have committed. Excellencies, this is a time of many setbacks for human rights, but it's also one of great opportunity. We stand on a strong, vital, and living body of law and norms which reflect the universal values that bind humanity. The Covenant, the 7 other core human rights treaties, and the recommendation of all UN human rights bodies and experts are fundamental contributions to the work of preventing, mitigating, and ending human rights violations, including the inequalities and discriminations which torment so many of our fellow human beings. The voice of the Office of the High Commissioner is powerful in its authority, legitimacy, and objectivity, and it is far from the only voice that it raised in support of rights. The new reforms underway at the United Nations present an opportunity to advocate as powerfully as we can that a human rights approach be at the center of the work of our UN partners. The recommendations of the treaty bodies and the Council's special procedures and universal periodic review are increasingly integrated into coordinated tools to enable better adoptions by states, UN country teams, and other actors. In humanitarian operations, the UN is adopting the new way of working, which seeks to join up development, humanitarian, and human rights approaches to these difficult situations. The 2030 Agenda makes the direct road from discrimination to inequality and underdevelopment absolutely clear. It opens a tremendous opportunity for greater integration of human rights goals, including the recommendation of the Human Rights Mechanism into national policies and the work of the UN. The Sustainable Development Goals would not progress without discussion of and progress on the so-called sensitive issues of human rights. I know this as a former head of state and head of government. Development must focus above all on the well-being and rights of the people. The Global Compact for Migration, which is due to be adopted in December, offers hope for better and more effective governance of migration. It is a balanced human rights document with achievable, detailed policies to reduce the vulnerability of many of the world's 258 million migrants and minimize the human rights violations which so often drive their flight. Historically, people have always moved in search of hope and opportunities. Erecting walls, deliberately projecting fear and anger on migrant communities, denying migrants fundamental rights by limiting their right to appeal, curtailing the right to non-refoulement, separating and detaining families, and cutting integration programs. Such policies offer no long-term solutions to anyone, only more hostility, misery, suffering, and chaos. It is in the interest of every state to adopt migration policies that are grounded in reality, not in panic, which provide opportunities for safe, regular movement instead of forcing people to take lethal risk. Among the major strengths of both the 2030 Agenda and the Global Compact is that they are commitment by states to work together and change together. Mr. President, in a few days it will be the equinox, when our world is poised between equal night and day. For us in the Global South, this date marks the end of winter and the start of spring, and many of our cultures celebrate this as a time of hope and working together. I am committed to the task of ensuring that together we grow civil, political, economic, social, and cultural rights for all, together with the right to development, and thus ensure peace and sustainable development across the world. I thank you, Mr. President.